Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
Welcome back in, everybody, from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates studios. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, 920 AM, Bucks, Burlington, Mercer Counties, or worldwide on the web at 920thejersey.com. 5:15 is the time, 609-919-9200 is the telephone number. And now joining us on our phone lines right now, one of the finest talk show hosts and sideline reporters in America. He resides in Atlanta on 92.9 The Game, and that's the Falcons sideline reporter in John Michaels. Big Eagles-Falcons game coming up at the Link on Sunday. John, always fun to talk to you. Appreciate the time, and how are you, my friend?
Good. Anytime, Zach. It's always great to talk to you. Typically, we talk some college. We do a little pro football as well, and it'll be nice to come up to the Philadelphia area, get me a cheesesteak on Saturday, and get ready for a big NFC game on Sunday.
Well, we just had Eddie Alvarez on, and he said he likes to go to this place, Steve Prince of Steaks. It's an okay cheesesteak. I'm going to put you in the right direction. Go to this place, D'Alessandro's, or go to this place called Mama's, and you will thank me later, okay?
Okay, D'Alessandro's and Mama's. You got it.
Yep.
I will do that. I've done the Geno's and Pat's, and
overrated.
They're good, but I heard they're way too commercial for everybody these days.
Yep, they are the tourist trap of cheesesteaks when you come to Philadelphia. So make sure you go to either D'Alessandro's or Mama's. I'm going to actually throw you a curveball. You say we usually talk college and a little Miami because I know you're a big Canes fan. Your son is named after the university. Also, we usually talk a little Eagles and Falcons. I want to throw a little politic curveball at you to start the show. How did you handle the election today on your talk show? Because I always find it amusing how sports guys handle politics.
Well, it's funny. Actually, starting yesterday when we knew the election was going down, I work with Rick Campbell, who's on NBA TV. Him and I are the least political sports talk hosts maybe in the country. Neither one of us care. I mean, we do care because obviously it impacts what our day-to-day job and everything else could be. But none of us are going to, really break down into politics. So the four of us, our two producers and Rick and I yesterday, did mock presidential campaigns. We had our listeners vote as to who would be the president of our show. Today, as far as the actual election went down, we discussed none of it. It was just, hey, let's find out who won our poll. We kind of made fun, did concession speeches and stuff like that, and we talked football. There was no need to sit and break down the politics. There's a lot of fans that didn't want to hear about it. There's people on either side, whether it was somebody that was happy that Trump won the election or the people that were upset that he didn't win the election. They come to us for sports talk. They didn't come to us for political thoughts or what side of the fence we were on. So we had fun with our own brand of politics, and we just stuck with football.
Yeah, we had a little bit of fun with it today. We did most shocking moments because I thought the results last night were shocking. So we did most shocking moments in sports history. But I did lead the show talking about the election because sometimes in my philosophy, you sometimes don't have to always talk sports. And there's big issues that require that. And I thought today was one of those. So I'll ask you one more thing. I don't know if you want to answer this or not. It's your right to reveal that. Did you vote yesterday, and who'd you vote for?
I did vote. I voted for Clinton. I'll be honest, I thought it was the lesser of two evils, and that was the way that I went with. Again, I'm not a person that's huge into politics. I'm kind of like Dave Chappelle, the old comedian that used to have the Chappelle Show. He said in one of his stand-up skits a long time ago, Chappelle said simply, I don't know about politicians or their politics per se, but I kind of judge the character of a person, and that's where I went into this and decided to vote. Obviously, I'm in the very minority down in the South.
No doubt.
The red won quite a bit down in the South, but, I still cast my vote. A tax-paying citizen, I felt it was my right to do so, and I did, and, the candidate I voted for did not win.
Yeah, I was the same way. I voted for Hillary Clinton, and we actually had Donald Trump on the show yesterday, not the actual Donald Trump. We had Joe Conklin, a local comedian who just does the best Donald Trump impersonation. You'll be hearing him nationally soon as John Michaels joins us, the Falcons sideline reporter, and does middays in Atlanta. So let's do what you do best and what I do best as well. That's not talking politics, that's talking sports. When I look at this matchup, the Falcons, to me, are a surprise story. They're a fun story, though. I just don't get how they're going to cover the Eagles, that is, and Julio Jones, because that man has been unstoppable this year, John.
Zach, the biggest problem is not just Julio Jones. It's what Matt Ryan's been able to do throwing to everybody else. Falcons are 3-0 this year when Julio catches 30 yards worth of passes or less, which is an unbelievable stat after a year ago when the team was basically Julio dominant. It was throw to him, then throw to him again, and maybe every now and then check down to Devontae Freeman. This year, Matt Ryan's had, I think, 8 of his 9 games where he's completed the 7 receivers or more during the game. So it could be Julio for 8 for 150, but then you got Mohamed Sanu, who might catch 4 or 5 passes, Austin Hooper 4 or 5, Jacob Tamme, who's not going to play this week, has been part of it, Tevin Coleman, who's a game-time decision on Sunday, he's been part of it, Devontae Freeman, Taylor Gabriel's the guy that you got to watch for, a little speedster that we found, on the free agent scrap heap from Cleveland. But Matt's done a tremendous job spreading the wealth. Julio by himself is a matchup nightmare, but when the Falcons struggled, save the Carolina game, they struggled against San Diego in the second half because they came very Julio dependent. Seemed like every time Matt was trying to make a throw, he tried to go to Julio. They're more dangerous this year when they spread the wealth, and this team is really fun right now to watch offensively.
And since we're a Fox station, we have a lot of the national shows. And when I hear the MVP discussion, I knew Matt Ryan was having a good year. I didn't realize the numbers were this good with 23 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Usually when that MVP debate occurs here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey, you hear the name Derek Carr, you hear the name Tom Brady. Right now, I have to say Matt Ryan is probably the favorite to win the MVP. How about you?
Yeah, I agree, and I think you could throw Ezekiel Elliott in there as well. I know Eagles fans can't stand the Cowboys, but Zeke's had a great season down there. Matt's had a resurgent season. A year ago, and really down on our station, the entire summer was, let's tank, let's get Deshaun Watson. And I kept telling people, are you nuts?
Wow.
Like, you've got a franchise quarterback that, granted, he's not Tom Brady, he's not Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, nobody else is. This guy has all the tools to go out and put up a season that he has right now. He's done it in the past. 2012, he had a great year. 2013, the team stunk because Julio was hurt, Roddy was hurt, and he still threw for 4,700 yards. So the guy is tremendous. This year, the credit really goes to Matt and Kyle Shanahan for finding an equal footing when it comes to the offensive play calling. Kyle, had been called bullish a little bit for a guy that wanted to run his system and his system only. This year, he does run some of his stuff. It's the zone, the outside zone runs, the boot action coming off the backside. But he's allowed Matt Ryan to go up-tempo, which is where Matt really thrives. And you can see 23-4, he leads the league in passing yardage. I think he's second in passer efficiency, only behind Tom Brady. Matt's had a tremendous year.
Yeah, he really has, and it's fun to see him being a local kid, having success, and it must be fun for him to come home this weekend and play in front of that Eagles crowd. We know the Eagles fan won't be rooting for him this week. Let's get back to Julio Jones, though. Last year had over 1,800 yards. This year is at 970 yards. The chase to 2,000, what number do you put on Julio this year in terms of yards?
I think he'll end up around 1,600, maybe 1,700, and that's fine. We had said preseason, give me 100 catches, 1,500 yards, up the touchdowns to about 10, and I think I'd be really happy with the year. I think there's going to be games down the stretch that, we've got a game against Arizona. We play Carolina again, teams that are going to really focus on taking Julio away, and Matt's willing to go ahead and throw it to other people. So I don't think he's going to go for 2,000. The year to get 2,000 was a season ago. The season kind of spiraled out of control. Julio was the guy they were continuously throwing to. Roddy White was on the last legs of his career, obviously, and that was one that he comes really close. This year, I think 1,600 will be really happy. Although if he puts up another 3 bills like he did against Carolina earlier this year, all bets are off.
Yeah, the chase would really be on then. I remember last year Atlanta, they were that surprise team, got off to the 5-0 start, could not finish after midway through the season. The Eagles earlier this year, they were that surprise darling team. They got off to the 3-0 start, rookie coach, rookie quarterback. I know Matt Ryan wasn't a rookie last year, but do you at all see some similarities maybe to where the Falcons were last year and where the Eagles are this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing with Carson Wentz, as an outsider, remember, he's a guy that doesn't play a ton in the preseason, gets hurt. There was talk, and I'm sure you guys talked about it, him being redshirted basically for the year.
That's what they
then
thought.
All of a sudden, then all of a sudden Bradford's traded, and all of a sudden Wentz is your starter week 1. Nobody had a book on him. Nobody had any idea what he was going to bring to the table. And a lot of times coaches will take that first quarter, the first 4 games of the year, they'll take that tape and learn tendencies. Well, now all of a sudden you're seeing the second quarter where teams have had a chance to study Carson Wentz, study the offense, and try to figure out some of the intricacies they're trying to do. I think that's why you're seeing a little bit of a fall off. You know, I'm not going to disparage Philly. We know this is going to be a battle coming up on Sunday. But the talent's not quite where they want it. I think they're a draft or maybe a free agent class away, at a little more speed on the outside, maybe some depth at the running back position. And then they're going to be a team that could be really one to be reckoned with in the NFC East. They got off to a hot start. I wouldn't be shocked if they stay in the wild card race the whole way. But I think part of it has to do with people now have a book on what Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz are trying to do.
The coach has to rebound because the last 2 weeks he's made some really bad decisions, and people are killing him down here in South Jersey and Philadelphia, and deservingly so. I had to actually tell some people to settle down yesterday because you're 8 games in. I don't want to hear the words firing, which the coach Doug Peterson. But welcome to Philadelphia and South Jersey. You know how the deal rolls here with our loyal sport fans. The thing, though, really with Carson Wentz, and you nailed it. He is so smart, this kid. His footwork is great. He has a nice arm. But the most impressive thing is how this team is at 4 wins, because that's amazing that they're at 4 wins with the lack of talent around him. Your fourth receiver probably could be the Eagles, too, right now. That's how bad this receiving core is.
Yeah, it's Jordan Matthews, it's Nelson Aguilar, and then you'd have to help me out. I haven't done enough studying to see who's 3, 4, and 5.
You don't even need to do studying. That's how bad they are. Dorial Green-Beckham stinks. Bryce Treggs is a player that's going to be fun to watch. He wasn't even playing 2 weeks ago. He comes in last week, and he looks like the best receiver.
Yeah, that's a scary thing. But that's also where you say, okay, a year from now, you draft, you sign a guy or two, you put some weapons around. You now know you have your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years if everything goes well. You start to build around them. And, you know, I know Philly fans are a heck of a lot less patient than Atlanta Falcon fans are. But you got something good. You're through the Chip Kelly regime. Thank goodness. Let San Francisco have that problem now. And maybe the University of Oregon a year from now, because he can say whatever he wants about staying in the NFL. It's a matter of does somebody want him in the NFL that much longer. But Carson's done a really good job to have him at 4-4. And if anybody's wanting their coach fired, you're nuts. It's a building process in this league. Yeah, there are guys that will walk in and win 10 year one. That doesn't happen very often. And when it does, or if you're in a playoff race, be thankful for what you have and remember where you came from a year ago.
If I wasn't so comfortable in my big chair sitting my big ass down, I would stand up and give you a standing ovation because that was a brilliant answer. With Dan Quinn, though, you had a rookie coach last year. He's someone that got off to the quick start, then had that downfall like we were talking about. We're trying to figure out now if Doug Peterson is going to be a good coach. That jury, it's still fair to have that conversation if this guy is a good coach with the lack of experience. Quinn was a little bit different, but when did you know, going through something very similar that we're going through in the infant stages now, that Dan Quinn would be a good head coach?
You know, I thought from right away. I mean, you're at training camp, you get a good vibe of what a guy's going to be. And Mike Smith was a very good coach for Atlanta, the most successful guy they ever had, but I thought the message had gotten stale. Mike Smith wasn't going to give you anything. He was kind of laid back. It's how he was. Now all of a sudden Dan Quinn walks in, the new sheriff in town, and he's revved up and ready to go. Music blasting at practice. He kind of had the pulse of the guys that were there. We knew pretty early on Dan would be a good coach. Then the question becomes, how does he work with the X's and O's? And it's funny. You guys are dealing with Doug Peterson not kicking field goals last week, down in the game. We had to deal with Dan Quinn a year ago out in San Francisco. It's 4th and 1 at their 1, about to score to tie the game with about 3 minutes to go, knowing that our defense is fairly mediocre, and he decides to kick a field goal. Falcons never get the ball back. San Fran runs the clock out, and we end up losing by 4 points. And everybody's going, why don't you go for it? It's 4th and 1. If you don't get it, you get a 3 and out, and you get the ball at midfield. These are growing pains with coaches. Unfortunately, as much as you do as a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator somewhere, it's something different when everything falls on your shoulder. You have to manage the game, the time, substitutions, all of this other stuff. It takes some time, and I think Doug Peterson is going to be a really good coach. Like I said, we knew fairly early Dan would be the guy. It's just a matter of getting the W's more so than the L's to kind of add up to that equation.
This is an odd year with the National Football League because other than New England, there really isn't another team. They're the outlier, and then it's the rest of the teams from there. This Atlanta team, they're a fun story. I don't know what their apex is, but what do you think their high point is for this season?
Realistically, they can make the Super Bowl in the NFC. We've already proven going to Denver. Granted, it's not the same Broncos team from a year ago, but winning out there, essentially winning in Seattle if Richard Sherman doesn't get away with one of the more egregious pass interference penalties in the league. And we should have won out there, and they took Seattle's best punch. Yeah, they lost to San Diego and lost to Tampa, but they've shown the ability to go different places and win. They won in Oakland, one of the 2 losses for the Raiders. The best they could do would be making the Super Bowl. I truly think it depends on the draw because our defense is bottom 5 in the league. Give up a lot of yards and a lot of points, and defensively they really can't stop much to get a sack here and maybe a turnover there. But with an offense that right now, and I read this stat the other day and was blown away, they're averaging 6.8 yards per play. That's the highest in the NFL since the 2000 St. Louis Rams Greatest Show on Turf offense. So put that in perspective with New England, with Brady and Randy Moss a few years back.
Yeah, no,
some of the great offenses they've had. This offense for the Falcons is better. If they get the right matchup, they can go deep. The fear is, though, there's going to be that day where somebody's got their offensive number and the defense just can't get a stop.
Is there a lot of fear maybe in Atlanta that maybe this team is a little bit of fool's gold? Is that fear? Do you deal with that with callers?
We have a lot, especially when they lost 2 in a row after the 4-1 started. Immediately was, same team as last year. We bought in for no reason. I think beating Green Bay the way they did, winning in the last minute, and then turn around and just destroying Tampa Bay on the road has quieted a lot of those thoughts. But there's still people that are, you know what, until we make it to the playoffs and win a playoff game, we don't believe it. And mind you, Matt's only won 1 in his career, and that was back in 2012 against Seattle. Never won another playoff game. So a lot of folks are still, I'd probably say 60% of our audience is still on the show me in January, or I don't care what you do during the rest of the year.
Since we've mentioned these 2 teams, give me an explanation why these 2 teams aren't where we thought they would be this year, Carolina and then also Green Bay.
Well, Carolina, for one, they undersold the value of Josh Norman. Josh Norman while he's not I don't think he's let me back up for a second. Josh Norman's a very good player. He's not elite. He's not a lockdown man-to-man guy like Darrelle Revis used to be. But in their scheme, he allowed them to do a lot of stuff where they could get pressure and send blitzes and essentially take away a side of the field in that cover 3 scheme that they love to run. Without him, then they had an injury to Robert McClain. Bené Benwickery goes down. They don't have anybody on the back end that can cover. And they've made some changes the last 2 weeks since the bye and have looked a lot better playing. And I would imagine Carolina's going to be a team at the end of the year you probably don't want to play if the playoff berth is on the line. And I think there's part of it that the cockiness they had a year ago. The old adage goes, you want to take care of a bully, you punch him in the mouth. And people started punching Carolina in the mouth, and they just didn't like it. They weren't able to take selfies on the sideline like they did last year against us in the fourth quarter. They couldn't dance as much. And when that team plays from behind, they're a plodding offense. They don't have a ton of talent outside of Cam Newton and Greg Olsen offensively that really scares you. I know Kelvin Benjamin's pretty good. But they really underplayed the Josh Norman thing. As far as Green Bay goes, I think a lot of it has to do with injuries. They're dealing with playing their 3rd and 4th and 5th corners right now, and they're playing the 1 and the 2 role. Eddie Lacy, obviously being hurt, has completely taken away anything that they can do as far as running the football. Jordy Nelson's not very explosive, and you saw a year ago Nelson not being able to get down the field. Randall Cobb's a good receiver, but he's a better number 2 than he is a 1. Devontae Adams isn't a 1 yet. Ty Montgomery's just a revelation that they had the last couple of weeks. Add all that up, Green Bay is not great. But again, I would not want to play. If there's one team in the NFC as an Atlanta fan that I'm truly scared to play in the playoffs, it would be the Packers because of what Aaron Rodgers is able to do.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That game would be a shootout. John Michaels wrapping up with Tim, the tremendous Falcons sideline reporter. John, one thing we love here on the East Coast is we love to see fans, and you're having a pretty good start with the Falcons this year, but we also like to see fans that are disappointed. So I'll bring up your Miami Hurricanes. What's going on with Miami as of late?
First and foremost, we're happy that fat and sweaty Ty guy is off to Detroit.
No. You will not bash Al Golden on this show. I'm a Temple alum. It just won't happen. I won't allow it. You're breaking up. I can't hear what you're saying.
And his buddy Mark D'Onofrio, I think, is coaching kids down in Miami.
Yeah, that guy I don't like.
I'll be honest. Mark Richt walked in, and I really thought this would be 9 or 10 wins this year. And they may end up with 8, 9 with a bowl game. the disappointing part is you get off to a 4-0 start, and you've got Florida State down 13-0, and there's something to be said about the psyche of kids winning a game. Miami hadn't beaten Florida State since 2009, and from the point that they blew that lead and then ultimately get an extra point block, the psyche of those kids has not been the same. You lose to the same team for a long time, and they've done a great job on ABC chronicling the Florida State hangover. Miami loses that game, and then they lose the next game, and then all of a sudden it's a Thursday night against Virginia Tech, and you play an awful Notre Dame team and you lose there. They were able to bounce back last week against Pitt. I think a couple of things. A, the defensive side, they're starting 3 true freshmen at linebacker. That eventually wears on you. The offensive line has been dreadful, and Brad Kaya to me looks a little bit punch drunk after being hit as much as he has. Hopefully they bounce back, wrap up 8-4, and get a bowl win. And right now the projections are having them play Georgia, which would be a lot of fun. Marquardt's going to be the right guy eventually. It's just been square peg, round hole with him right now, and it's going to take him some time to get his kids in there.
Now, I would actually like to see Temple play Miami in a bowl game because Matt Rule's doing one remarkable job another year in a row for the Temple Owls. Wouldn't that be a little fun for the Miami fans if they had to play Temple in a bowl game?
It would have been more fun with Golden there. With Rick, I think a lot of people want to see him play Georgia because Georgia fans are mad that they fired Rick and Kirby Smart's 5-4. So that would be fun. But, yeah, Temple would be a good game, and I am not sure that Miami would win that one by any stretch.
No, that's what I like to hear. We got to a bowl game last year with one of our best teams in program history, and we couldn't win the bowl game. Before we let you run, we'll give you a prediction. We got to get a prediction out of you. Let's get 2 of them. Falcons this weekend, do they beat the Eagles, and if so, by how much? And I'll even throw an extra punch at you. Miami has to beat 2-7 Virginia this weekend, right?
Yeah, I think the Falcons will win 27-20. I think it's going to be a close game. All the Falcons games typically are. I think our offense will be a little too much for Philly to overcome. Miami's going to win 31-10. This will be the nice cakewalk game for them against Virginia. Good luck with that, Bronco Mendenhall. Should have stayed at BYU.
I'll text you when they're down 10 in the first quarter, John. Thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Anytime.
The great John Michaels joining us on the Zach Gelb Show. Fox Sports 920, The Jersey. Does a tremendous job on the Falcons sidelines and also middays in Atlanta. 609-9199-D200. This is the Zach Gelb Show. When we come back, we're going to go back to the politics a little bit. How are the athletes reacting to Donald Trump being named president? And also, Bill Belichick, he talked to the media for the first time today about the letter that he wrote to Donald Trump. We have that audio next. And let me tell you, folks, it is radio gold. I would like to commend Bill Belichick, not for the letter that he wrote, but for the way that he handled the media, because it was very comical. And we'll talk about that next as we wrap up a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show. 5:38 is the time of the Princeton Orthopedic Associate Studios. Don't touch that dial, folks. Just don't do it. We'll be back.